All right. Thank you. A very good evening to you and warm welcome to NewsBand. My name is Lydia Oduada. On NewsBand, we'll bring you information, we'll bring you gist, we'll bring you news as it drops. And today for you, we've got this interview session with one topic that you will be very interested in because it's been a concern to Nigerians, not just you and I, but the students in particular. Of course, we all know that Academic Staff Union of Universities have been on strike for 5 months now. And if you ask me, it's biting really, really hard. And so we've got right here with us, Comrade Stephen Ufoaroh, Chairperson, Academic Staff Union of Universities, Nnamdi Azikiwe. And the topic of discussion today is Asuu strike. How much longer? I'm very sure you want to know when the strike will be over and done with. You want the students to go back to school, but we don't know when exactly Asuu will make this decision. And that's why we've got Comrade right here with us to have a conversation. You're welcome, Comrade Stephen.
Yeah, good evening. You're welcome. Thank you, Lydia, for inviting me. Viewers, you're welcome.
Okay, so let's dive in and start cutting and dissecting already. So on the 14th of February, university students were sent back home by strike over pending implementations of agreement between the union and the federal government. Of course, it's been 5 months already, and there is no hope of the strike being called off. In fact, NLC just joined the strike a few days ago, and it's just industrial action everywhere. What is really going on between the federal government of Nigeria and Academic Staff Union of Universities?
Yeah, Lydia, you're welcome. I think the issue in contention have been there in public domain. It's not a new issue. These issues have been there. It's all about renegotiating the take-home salary of university workers, which was done last in 2009 and was due every 3 years. So it was due in 2012, 15, 18, and then now 21. But we're still talking about the first review that was supposed to have been concluded in 2012. That is one of the issues in contention. Another issue is the issue of the payment platform. Suddenly the government, the federal government introduced IP's payment platform. And then we said this platform cannot, will not be able to handle the peculiarities of university workers vis-a-vis the Autonomy of University Act. And so government imposed that IPs. And when we went on strike in 2020, the government requested us to provide an alternative platform for these IPs, which our union did. And we funded it, and government has tested it. It has platform, and it's called 99.3%. And recently the government said all the platforms that were developed, both the TAS, the IPs, and that developed by non-academic staff should be subjected to another round of tests. That test has been completed, and as we speak today, the result of the test of those two platforms has not been made public. That's one issue in contention. Federal government sent a discussion panel to our universities to examine the activity of university for the last 11 years. The panel completed their work last year. As we speak, the white paper on that discussion panel is not yet out. Another issue in contention is federal government funding our university system, public university, by providing funds for basic infrastructures in university system. As you are aware, the population is growing, and since our population and number of admission seekers are increasing by the year, there is also update the infrastructural facilities in universities, hostels, laboratories, classrooms, offices, to be able to take care of this growing population of both students and workers in university system. So these are the issues in contention that led to this current strike that we're in. Of course, we are aware, we only Asuu that is on strike. All the university workers are on strike because of this same issue and failure of government to abide and fulfill the agreement the federal government willingly entered into with the unions on campus.
You did mention that series of tests has been taking place, and of course, up until now, the results are not public. Is there a particular reason given why these results are not made known?
Well, just as Asuu has earlier in her press releases before the introduction of IP, we rejected IP because the IP's platform has a lot of flaws. And even the Accountant General and federal government have come up to publicly declare that a lot of errors have been found with IPs. Vis-a-vis names that are not supposed to be there are being found in the IP's platform. And so we don't know why they are saying the result coming out public, but we know that the retest test has been conducted before, where it's called 99.3%. So we're waiting for them to come out. Government will know better where the lane is not coming forth to the public domain. Because these are one of the issues. Let them come forth. These are one of the issues in contention, making public the results of the test of those three platforms that were developed for payment of the take-home of university workers. So the government will be in a better position to answer. We don't want to preempt them, but our request is that they should make that test results public. The Nigerians will be in better position to judge between the three platforms that have been developed and then which one will best suit university workers.
Okay, so this strike, because of the many opinions of students and every other person, of course, everyone has his or her own opinion of what's going on. Some have said that this strike is political. What's your take? What do you have to say about this?
Well, I said earlier that this struggle dated back to the issue of 2009 agreement, and we have had several political parties in power in Nigeria. PDP has come, finished, and then APC has come into the same issue. When we went on strike in 2020, it was still the same APC government that was in power then, and they were the ones that entered into a fresh agreement with the union in 2020 December. So it's not about politics, it's about Nigerians taking over their country. It's about Nigerians insisting that education be funded, education will be a right. It shouldn't be a privilege. It's about Nigerians speaking up, just as LLC has given their voice to the struggle, that our children are at home. Even some of us are lecturers, our children are also inclusive in these students that are at home. Some of our colleagues are supposed to be doing their PhD, master's program, they're all at home. So it's not politics, it's about the issues in contention are very open before the public. So it's not about politics. So it goes beyond the current administration. But the issue in contention, the current administration entered into agreement with our union in December 2020. And timeline was given to fulfill all these agreements. And up to now, the critical issues in that agreement have not been fulfilled. They've asked us to develop an alternative platform to IPs, which we did. So why are they delaying implementing it? Why are they let them come open clearly to the public and say this is what we don't want to accept to the Asuu developed platform? And let the masses judge their reason for not accepting it, rather than keeping quiet. And then the negotiated document about the review of take-home of university workers, the Professor Briggs Committee has finished their work on behalf of the government. They've gone back to government. Government is here to get back to us about what is their stand on the issue. So it's not about politics. The facts are there before the masses to look at and see who is actually playing politics.
Okay, so let's go on the next question. Is the strike the only way that Asuu can make her demands or her grievances known to the federal government? Could there be any other option?
Before Asuu we embark on strike, there are a lot of consultations that must have taken place. You remember the Interreligious Council of Nigeria, where the Sultan of Sokoto and Camp Chairman were all members. They've intervened in this matter. They've met with the president on this matter. And several interest groups, even NLC, somebody was asking, why is NLC coming late in this matter? And I told him in one of my press statements that NLC have been intervening. sometimes when there will be deadlock between Asuu and federal government, NLC will intervene and say, look, let's go back to the negotiation table. And so NLC have been intervening also. We've made contact with the National Assembly, both to the House of Rep and to the Senate on different issues. And they all seem to be interested, and they all done what they think they can do. And so strike was the last option. Because we know that strike will not do anyone good, including we. Our salaries have been held for 5 months. Nobody is happy with that kind of situation. You have your children, the economy is biting hard, the rate of inflation is there, and your salary is being held for 5 months. Your dependents are there, and so nobody is happy with it. But these are part of the sacrifice we needed to make to save our public universities, so that to not go the way of our public primary and secondary schools, as presently we have it in our country. So strike was never the first in the line of action. Consultations, appeals have been there. We made several press conferences at branch level, at zonal level, at national level, appealing to government to implement the agreement she willingly signed into. But it's like there's no political way about funding education in this country. That you could see the same government that say they don't have funds. They are licensing more public universities. More public universities have been passed by National Assembly to be established, and they are saying there's no fund. So why establish more public universities when you cannot fund the already existing ones? So it's just there's no political way to fix our education. Just as I told somebody recently, it's not even about Asuu, it's not about universities, it's about the whole country. Nothing seems to be working. But we said, no, we cannot keep quiet like every other sector and allow this one to also go down like every other sector in this country. We need to defend this, the only institution we have, where the future of our tomorrow leaders will be molded.
Okay, now let's look at the strike and it's lingering for this long. What do you think will be the effect on the students?
Yeah, I think the effect will be very much, in the sense that I know most of them will be out of school. They will lose their academic years. Some of them will have paid for their accommodation, and of course, the landlords will not want to hear those stories. And so I'm aware, we are aware that it will impact the students much, because they will lose their precious time going back to school. Even those that are supposed to have finished their registration for the academic session, some of them are yet to finish that. And you could see recently JAMB has released another result. Those in the university have not finished. Another set of JAMB candidates are already waiting. So we know that there is a lot of losses that the students will incur, as well as we, the academic staff and other university workers. But I think these are part of the sacrifices we need to make to recover our public universities. But the students also understand that the story is about their welfare. We made it clear today, if you go to most universities, the projects you see there, public universities, either third funds, sponsored projects, or least sponsored projects. And these two projects are all brainchild of the union of Asuu. You could see hostels springing up in universities, cost of third funds, hostels springing up in universities, cost of needs assessment intervention funds. These are all the struggles of the union. So whatever we've been getting as benefits from the struggles in the past, the students also benefit, as well as the university workers. So I think we are all together in this struggle. Of course, you know, the federal government has made proposals several in the past to introduce tuition fee in public universities, so that the students can go and pick up loan from education bank, and when they graduate, they go refund the money when they start job. But the question is, if that is allowed to come true, how many students are able to access that fund vis-a-vis the political situation in our country, where for you to get any benefit, you must be connected to somebody high there. So then the masses will push out, the poor masses will push out of the system again, which is what the union, why the union is strongly opposed to any form of high tuition fee in order to raise funds to fund our educational system. So the students also understand that the union is fighting for them. I'm aware that most public universities, especially the federal universities, their tuition fee, the money they pay, which is service fee, is quite very low. So these are what they also understand, that the union is fighting for them as much as we also fight for the welfare of our members.
Okay, so the union is fighting for the students. Now, we know that Nigerian education, everyone says it's going down on a daily, and Asuu is on strike, children or students are at home. What do you think would happen to what's left of Nigerian education by the result of the strike?
Yes, I'm sure that the strike in the past has always impacted positively in the educational system, especially the public universities in Nigeria. Because most time we go on strike, the government is forced to release funds to public universities to improve the facilities in universities. We've always achieved that. What we've not been achieved in the last throughout the strike gone from 2012 to date is this issue of improvement in the salary of university workers. But whenever we go on strike, government released a little token out of the 1.1 trillion that is supposed to have released to universities for revitalization. And so I'm sure that by the end of this struggle, hopefully we are going to get the government to be serious about funding our public institutions of learning, because that is actually the main aim of this struggle. The government should have the political will to invest in education, to make our universities competitive, to make our universities to compete with other universities in Africa, across the globe. And so I'm sure that's why our members are making this sacrifice, not minding our salaries have been withheld. We still see that we must push on with this struggle, because we don't want it to go down that it is today. Virtually everything in this country is going down the drain. But we want to make sure that as much as possible, our public universities will not go down like every other sector of this country. We don't want to be part of this system where it will be in history that, look, we are in the university system and there was a total collapse of the system. We can no longer graduate our students that can compete with others. And that is why we said we are insisting on this struggle, and we want the government to listen to us. We want the masses to also join. Just as NLC has come to say government needed to do the needful to save our public universities.
Okay, talking about government doing the needful and the fact that the government is not responding, they're not bulging. What happens? Because recently I saw a post of the different time duration of Asuu strike at different times, ranging from 1999, and the longest seemed to be that of 9 months. Now, this is 4 months already. What if the government or the federal government is just not looking like as if you already mentioned that they don't have the political will to do something about the strike? So what if this political will is still not in place? Will this strike linger? Up until when?
Well, and for Asuu members, we're ready to engage the government as long as the issues in contention are not resolved. I'm happy to say you have gone into 9 months, and we're ready to go longer than 5. It's already 5 months. We are also counting, while we are also hoping that the government will do the needful, because nobody is happy with the situation on the ground now. But we wouldn't want to back out and allow the system to decay, just as we mentioned. We won't allow the system to decay to the point that we no longer be proud of being part of that system. Because we are academics, our job is job teaching and learning. We are going to research. We're also part of community service. So we wouldn't want our own constituency to go down like every other sector of the economy. And I'm sure you are aware also that the NLC have also threatened to go on 3 days warning strike. The government fails to heed to the call by Nigeria, not Asuu alone now, by Nigeria, because this affects every family in Nigeria. Every low income earner in this country is affected, except those that have political resources, political funds that could send their children to foreign universities, send their children to private universities in Nigeria. An average civil servant that doesn't have that such amount of money. And so it's affecting everybody. I'm sure the parents are not happy. The battles have been made public. But for us, we want to take this fight to as long as possible to get the government to be sensitive to the plight of our youth that are at home and the academic and the workers in university who have been earning the same salary since 2009 to date. As of yesterday, a dollar was going for 710 naira. And you can imagine what one has been earning since 2009. That is what it's earning today. So I think let's look at the situation and then see where Asuu has got it wrong. Is it asking government to improve facilities in universities? Is that where we got it wrong? You didn't ask the government, look, your platform is not working. Your IPs is not working. Even the government has come out to say IPs has a lot of errors there. They found out a lot of manipulations are going on there. I'm sure we have a better software. With all the integrity tests conducted, it tells you 99.3% in any academic institution. It's almost 100%. A fraction of 0.07, is that what you don't want to then? Let us have the result of the IPs that was tested. Let's have the results in public domain. So I will know who is actually deceiving who. So my dear, as far as we are concerned, want to take this battle to a conclusive end as soon as possible. If government is willing, this matter could resolve in 2 weeks, in 1 week. If there's a political will, as I said earlier, we can sit and dialogue the matters in contention out and we'll get back to work.
So we can say that if the government is not willing to comply or to deliver on demands by Asuu, the strike can go on till the ending of the year. Okay, so recently, that was sometime in June, there's a popular man, he's known as the ordinary president, that is Ahmed Issa. He did come on air to say that this strike has to be called off. And so he tasked every Nigerian to contribute to raise the needed funds to sort Asuu so that students can go back to school. However, somewhere along the line, this plan was cancelled. Now I'm thinking, what if it went through? The sum of 100 billion naira was raised in this struggle. Would Asuu have gone back to class, or would they say, no, because it's not from the government, we will remain on strike?
I think I want to appreciate his efforts in trying to do his little best. But the issue in contention is beyond 100 billion. It's about the salary of workers in the university. So it's not something you do, it's not done once off. It's about infrastructure in university, it's not done once off. So you need to set guidelines in motion on how you gradually implement and get funds to do this. That is why the government has the policy of budget making at the beginning of every year. So you have all the issues contained in the budget and implemented as it goes ahead. So raising one-off funds will not solve the problem because you can't pay workers salary just once. Okay, so there must be a deliberate effort to get funds available to solve the issues in contention. And I want to tell you the funds are available. Somebody asked the question, where are the recovered funds that were recovered from the so-called looters that have looted the treasuries of this country? Where are those funds? Where are the recovered properties that were recovered from the past leaders and even those currently in power? Where are the funds? So that's why I said there's no political will. What's our budget allocation to education, to the section of this administration, or to the section of democracy in Nigeria? These are the questions we need to ask. So the government has never been willing to meet the demands of our educational system, just as health and other sectors of our nation. So the 100 billion cannot solve the problem. There must be a steady release of funds. For instance, when we enter into agreement with government, we said 200 billion for 5 years will have solved the problem we're talking about infrastructure in university by now. But the government was not forthcoming with it. So one-off money or funds will not solve the problem. It's just beyond that.
Please, if you just join us, kindly mute yourself, please. Comrade, can you hear me? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. I'm hearing you.
Okay. All right, so let's continue. So you did mention allocation passively. And in Nigeria, when we see the allocation, the masses complain that what's allocated to education is not encouraging at all. Is Asuu also addressing this, and how is it going to send this message across to the government to raise the bars on allocation to education?
So these are part of the issues we raise. That's part of the issues we raise virtually every time we go on strike. We keep on thinking of this. Government should take a clue from other African countries, allocation to education sector. And if we had improved this as a nation, improve allocation to education, by now we have gotten some improvement. But the government keeps on looking down on this. It's the government, that's why I said there's no political will. They don't want to help our educational system to improve. That's just it. Because the same emergency year, the same budget allocation, and at the end of the day, ask yourself, even the little allocation that was allocated, how many of it is going to lead to the various sectors of education system? At the end of the day, how many of these funds are going to lead that are allocated, even as small as it is? These are the questions. We had also proposed the issue of 2% for companies to tax of their tax to be used for educational system, which is debt funds. And we made other proposals to government on how they can generate funds to fund education. But things are there's no political way. There's no political way.
There is no political will. That's the major issue here. Now, the strike being on for 5 months and still counting. Of course, we know that time lost cannot be regained. And of course, some students ought to have graduated this year or within this time frame. But no, they are not graduating anymore. In fact, I actually saw one post online, one Fateh Hamid, who is supposed to have graduated and gone for NYSC, but he's not going to be granted that opportunity because he's 30 already. And of course, 30 is the age limit for NYSC. Now, how will Asuu, or what's the plan to make up for this time lost? How will the students recover this huge loss?
Well, I think it's quite unfortunate that the time lost will not be recovered because each person's age is counted. Your age is counted. Even some of our students have complained about the age limit of participation in NYSC. Of course, that is also a factor. So some of them that are going to university will not graduate at the expected time. And so it will affect them definitely. It will affect their going for instance. Some of them have graduated, defended their project, but the results have not yet been completed for them to embark on or participate in NYSC activities. So I think it's part of the sacrifice. I think we will not have this anyhow. We just have to make sacrifice to feed this country. I said it some days ago that it's just about we all making this sacrifice and insisting that the people elected to manage our resources, that they use our resources effectively to meet our needs and not to meet their own personal needs. So you see, we don't want to compare take home by political office holders in this country, but take a look at this. What do they take home? Those elected to represent us. Where are their children? A bill was sent to National Assembly to mandate all public office holders to train their children in this country or to ensure that their children studies in this country. But that bill was thrown out of board by the National Assembly. We couldn't see the light of the day. These are people elected to represent us. I'm sure if our senators and House of Rep members, their children are in public universities and we shut down for 5 months, something drastic will have been done to resolve this problem. But you see them celebrate the graduation of the children outside this country. And I think Nigerians need to rise up and take this country. This country belongs to all of us. It doesn't belong to the political office holders. They've mismanaged our resources and everybody is suffering today. And nobody seems to be talking. And Asuu says, no, we won't allow this thing to continue. That's why everybody's saying Asuu. But if you can rise up and say, no, let's rise up and recover our country. Let's take over our country. when the aviation workers were getting strike, overnight the issue was resolved because their interest is protected there. So I think I want to appeal to our students, both the graduates and those who are still in school. They just have to be patient and understand that it's a struggle to save the soul of our public universities. That is only the surviving institution we have as a country today. I'm sure that most of our products, they travel outside this country, they make their mark. But the system, whether we have been trained, is not favorable. That's why they go outside this country, so they're making waves in various things. But here at home, nothing to write home about, nothing. This is our university, this is our hostel, this is our laboratory. And then they also look at the take-home of the workers in the university system since 2019 days. And see, nobody cares, nobody's thinking in that direction. So let them also, somebody call and say she wanted a transcript. I said, transcript? Are you conscious of the fact that the people that you want to prepare this thing to you have not been paid for 5 months? Did you ever consider their plight? Because everybody talks about my own. That's what we are as well as in our country. Nobody talks about the system working. We're talking about my own personal interest, how you affect me, not how you affect the general system and the whole country. So once you appeal to our students and even the graduates are waiting for anyone people, let us be patient. I'm sure that with all hands being on deck, this struggle will not last long again. Especially, I wouldn't think the federal government wants NLC to shut down the economy for the economy has already pleaded. If we shut down the economy of this country for 3 days, I think this country may not survive it. The issue of election 2023 may just be in the history book if we ever shut down the economy of this nation the way we are now for 3 days. We will not be able to survive it. So I want to believe that the federal government will do the needful in the next couple of days to avert this impending disaster that will not wish to happen.
Okay, so I'll take this final question and I'll leave the floor open for those who would have questions to ask their questions. Now, Asuu has been on strike for 5 months and salaries not being paid. And recently, the president said he is instructing Asuu to return back to school and allow the students to go back to school. As an individual, how did this come across to you?
That was it's not, the president knows the issues in contention. This is why I said Nigerians, we need to rise and take back our country. You cannot be saying somebody, if you then go back to work without looking at the issues in contention, shows that he's not being sincere. He's not playing to the gallery because you have an agreement signed under his own administration. The government team signed the agreement with resolve. We reached at when we ended the strike in 2020. And so he cannot say go back to work. The issues in contention are not been resolved. So we can't go back to work until the issues in contention are resolved. So enough is enough is not a threat. Maybe it's an advice that both the government team and Asuu should get down to work and be serious about discussion. Because when you finish, they come with Professor Brice come to finish their work months ago. We are still waiting for the government response as we speak. These are issues that could be done within two days a day. What about the test on the platform for payment, the OTAS test, the 3 UPS test, and the IP test? What's holding it from coming out? These are something that could be done within hours. What is only white paper of the decision prior to universities from being made public? What's holding it? So it's not about going back, it's about government sitting back to do what they ought to do. And we are ready to go back. We are not comfortable with the situation we find ourselves. We are itching to go back to work. Because I want you to answer a thing with us. And it's not funny when you say you are Asuu and your own child is with you at home. And every morning you get up, you look at your page, and you say you are fighting for a better university education. And some of our children don't even believe in us again. Because they don't, just as every other student say, look, they don't care about me. But it's an adage that says, when an elderly man sports saying, even if a tender child climb the top of the tree, you'll not be able to see it. We have been kind about where we find ourselves today in this country years back. government fund education. If government had released the money we are doing in 2013, that would have been completed in 2018. And our universities are a better place to be by now. We'll be talking about this revitalization fund by now. But subsequent governments have failed in this assignment. And that's what we are today. Just as every other sector also is not working also in this country. We don't talk about security again. Now you just have to see how you defend yourself and survive and go ahead.
Thank you very much. Now the floor is open. If you have questions for Comrade Stephen, please raise your hand so that you'll be called on to ask your question. We have just limited time. We have just about 5 minutes to take questions, please. So we'll take questions. If you have questions, please, by raise of hand, ask your questions. And for you who's just seen this, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, on Facebook at NewsBand, so that you'd be the first to know when we come here in live. Okay, so I'll assume there are no questions. And at this point, I'd like to say thank you very much. But before we go, in summary, how much longer? Asuu strike, how much longer? Just summarize.
Excuse me, there is a question I see here on the chat room. Have you picked it up?
Let me check.
From Ebuka Onyepola.
Okay, Asuu must reinvent itself and stop this regular strike action. They should find another means to address their dissatisfaction with the government. Okay, that's a suggestion there from Ebuka. Thank you very much, Ebuka.
What's the Asuu chairman's response to that point, please?
He said he would find alternatives. I think Ebuka should give us suggestions what the alternative means we've not explored before now. We've said before we embark on strike, we commenced this strike in February, and the agreement we signed with government was in December 23rd, 2020. So that is almost a year after, more than a year after that agreement was signed. And so within this period, this 1 year window period, consultations we are doing, appeals we are being sent to government. People, NLC were intervening, Inter-Religious Council were intervening. We even went ahead to meet with the National Assembly on these issues. And so we strike it, as I said, it's just the last resort. When every other means has failed, and you could agree with me that in this part of the world, even in development, even in UK, just go on strike. Because that is the only weapon that an employee has. You can't beat your employer. You wouldn't want to go to the street like the youth and begin to block the highway. But the security challenge is also there. So this is just the last weapon we have. To withdraw our services, you need to pay us. You need to pay us for the work we are doing. You need to improve our working environment. It's what the government should do for our citizens. And so if Ebuka has any other alternatives, we'll be willing to explore that option with all our hearts. If that will bring the needed results, that will draw the attention of government to our public institutions, and we'll be willing to explore that option, please. Anyone that has an advice, a suggestion on the way out of these challenges that we are facing, we've done it all these years. It's always try that makes the government to respond. No other weapon works on them. Because of course, the people we are dealing with. If they come around, elections are around the corner, everybody talks about elections. That is what only time they remember the masses. As soon as they get into power, they forget about the masses. They don't care about you. So let them come up and advise us. We're willing to take his advice and explore that option and see how it works out.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? All right. If there are no more questions, we would say thank you very much, Comrade Stephen Ufoaroh, for coming to answer some questions on the strike going on currently in Nigeria. And we appreciate you. And for everyone who's been a part of the conversation and those who see online, we appreciate you for staying tuned. And this is how Lydia says, thank you very much and have yourselves a pleasant night rest. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.